The following program is intended for a mature audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
This I've got to see.
It's worth watching, so stay tuned.
Let's get the show started. You're here because you want to be phenomenal within your own life and phenomenal in modern relationship with a woman. You want to know how to create polarity, masculine, feminine polarity. You want to know what your blind spots are, where you're fucking up, and how to improve that through what we teach, the 3 forms of confidence, the how, the what, the why, the behavioral, emotional, and spiritual skills, right? The spiritual simply meaning you can't count it on your fingers. You can't poke into it with your fingers. It's something that's ephemeral. It's something that is within an ideal, right? It's an idea of how do you create the life that you want and why are you doing those things. Last night, Cynthia and I host many different small groups, our relaunch groups with 6 men, and Jason Bradbury, who's not on here yet today, he's actually doing a training, phenomenal training. I'm going to have him share with us in the future. Bradbury was leading a bonus class for them, and he asked, what does it mean to be confident? Or when you see a woman who's confident, what does that mean? What do you like about a woman who's confident and, let's say, sexy? And the man was kind of like, I don't know. And it's not good. It's not good if you don't know how to verbalize and create and bring into the world what you want. So if you can't even say what you want in a woman, what you want in your life, that's a big fucking problem, right? So you're here. I'm Mr. Jeff Allen. This is Cynthia Kruse, professional and feminine professional. I'm messing myself up now with Patrick's. It's like she's a professional in this field and she's feminine. For her, I'm just gonna say what I want to say, Patrick. For her professional, feminine perspective. Patrick's gonna email me again later. Please email me as much as you like, Patrick. I love emails from New Zealand. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Cynthia likes it when Patrick emails her too, but it's not exact. Yeah, I'm still working on it, Patrick. Still working on it. That's right. Damn it. New Zealand calling me out. That's fucking cool. That's fucking cool. Pietrowski, what if when you and I were, doing men's work starting 5 years ago, if I would have said, this dude from New Zealand is calling me out on my intro, how fucking cool is that, man? Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, we would have freaked. We would have been probably fucking so emotionally out of control. We'd been like, this motherfucker, blah, blah, who the fuck do you think he is? A whole different place now, aren't we?
That's it.
I know where you live, Rob.
What was that, Patrick?
I know where you live. Calling me a motherfucker.
He buries people in those New Zealand mountains. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Peter. I was good to see you, man. You better know how to describe the kind of woman that you want. And so you can practice that within your being, within your body. When you meditate for 2 minutes in the morning, which is something I recommend, super short bits of meditation, or when you're journaling what you want, which is exactly, so I'm going to pander a little bit. Watch this. So, which is exactly what I did before I met Miss Cynthia Kruse. I went up to Steve Horseman's retreat up at his ranch, which I've since coached 6 different retreats shoulder to shoulder with him after the first time I went personally. I wrote 2 pages of exactly what I wanted in a woman, what to feel when I was around a woman, what I wanted to feel in relationship. And how many dates in were we when I actually shared that with you when we were starting to date?
Not that many.
Yeah, not that many.
Yeah.
Not that many. You don't remember?
It was date 3.
Good guess. I have no idea what date it was. No, it was date. Yeah, I think it was date 3 or 4. So Pietrowski, go for it.
I would say one thing a lot of us guys get wrong is we act like we're in an interview all the time, trying to qualify ourselves for her. Put yourself in the position of being the interviewer, and you're qualifying her for the job in your life. Not the other way around. Stop saying, oh, I do this, blah, blah, blah. I make this much. I got this. I have that. find out about her. Qualify her, see if she's good enough to be in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. What can she bring to you, right? If you automatically pedestalize her, if you automatically think that you're pandering to her, you're immediately starting off on the wrong foot. And I'll say, if that's a new woman that you're dating, or if it's dating your wife, I mean, if you're immediately trying to pander to her, that's something that, you'll talk with me about, or Piotrowski, or Andy Malloy, or Jason Bradbury, or Cynthia about. Why do I do that? What's the underlying belief that I need to get rid of or fix here? That's one of the skills, right? Confidence in yourself and not pandering to her. Cynthia, what is it like when a man feels like he needs to pander and make her like him, or he's in an interview and what does that feel like for a woman when he feels like he needs to justify his existence to her?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's different energies that can come out, but in that especially in that dating environment, if not like well into a relationship, I think anyone who's trying to prove themselves comes across as like they're only thinking about themselves. So especially dating, if like, and we're all nervous, right? And we all do this, but if you're a man and you're like, I got to prove myself and I've got to like make sure she knows this about me. And because, gosh, she's out there and I can't possibly get her unless I'm, proving my worth. It's actually going to come across to her like you're just talking about yourself. And the secret to dating, if not even dating your wife, is asking her questions about her. So that can be kind of like, you're measuring her up, but you're also making her feel, just seen and witnessed just because you are asking her questions. And it's not about trying to push an agenda or a certain picture on her of who you want to be in her eyes.
Yeah, beautiful. Very, very well said. Very well said. Let's go ahead and jump into our Staircase of Courage question for today. Let's check out Cynthia's Sexcapade spot, which she shares about the last 10 minutes of our show. Our theme of this week is being a king of your own life. How to make her hot for you, how to reattract her if you're in that spot, or how to keep passion alive in your life, regardless of the woman that you're with. Let's jump into it. Yeah, you're a man starting to rise in the world. Cynthia's Sexcapade spot today. Unleash her primal energy. Tone her vagal. I just had to read that twice to make sure I said it right. Tone her Oh, she's hungry. She doesn't have any sheets on the bed that she's laying on, though. I wonder what's going on there. This looks a little bit... So this... Like, where's this picture from? Is this a van down by the river, Cynthia? What's going on here? What's in her hand? Is that an apple?
It's an apple, yes.
It's an apple. Oh.
Primal energy apple.
Yes, primal energy apple.
When you're in primal energy, you don't need sheets.
Yes, absolutely. Who needs sheets?
Temptation at its finest.
That's right. I'm like, Eve just took a bite and she's taking a nap now or something. Something like that. Or she's encouraging you to take a nap. I don't know where we're going. Yeah, absolutely. Cynthia's Sexcapade spot. Tone her vagal. Unleash her primal energy. Cynthia will be unveiling during our Sexcapade spot today. I've got a lot of awesome stuff. I love that you guys are here when you keep your camera on. I saw that Patrick came in and then he got shy and turned his camera off. That's okay. Good to see you, Patrick, man. I appreciate that. Mr. Andy Malloy came in. John's here. Mix is here. I love it, guys, when you keep the camera on. So here's the participation section of our program. We've got the Staircase of Courage question. I've got 3 posts from the forum today. We'll see what we can get into. I've got a couple of videos as well and curated some spots from 3 different books, David Data, Michael Neal. Everything that we do here every single day is curated, especially off of questions from yesterday, what you're wanting to learn and to bring value to you immediately. You can practice these things immediately, like right now. So as long as you're not changing the sheets on your bed and strengthening your vagal, I want you to punch this into the chat right now. What's frustrating to you What's frustrating to you right now? What's frustrating that's right under the surface for you potentially right now? Okay, what is frustrating to you right now? If you think, and maybe it's nothing, and that's cool. Don't make up something just because. But if you think, as again I say, I want you to think about it for 5 or 10 seconds, and then just punch into the chat what comes to your mind. Just like when you're journaling, or just like when you're meditating, or just like when you're responding to a woman, you think about it, you feel into it for about 5 seconds, and then you respond what's coming from your heart as you're breathing deep into your belly, right? So what's frustrating to you right now in your life or in your relationship that you want to put on the table for us? And so what's right under the surface? What would be the top thing that you'd say that's frustrating you? Go ahead and punch that into the chat. Awesome. And while you're doing that, again, I'm going to ask you guys to come in here. Otherwise, I put my hand over my mouth, which I do when I'm teaching clients, right? One-on-one clients or small group coaching. And that's the cue. When I do this, that means I'm holding tension. I'm holding a pregnant pause in the space. And that's what you have to do with women quite often. You can have a little smile on your face. You can have a twinkle in your eye. You can be thinking positive things about her. You can have high regard for your woman or women in general, capital W, or your woman in the world. But you must get good at holding tension. And that's one reason it's called sexual tension. And also, you've got to be able to not just knee-jerk bullshit respond or react, I should say. Right? All right, here we go. Post in the forum. So a buddy of mine that I know through my wife, his wife and my wife were friends first, are about to get divorced. So a buddy of mine's about to get divorced. The wives are friends. I decided to send him the web pages for Great Men Move Mountains and Good Guys to Great Men. I shot them over in a text and followed with these are the resources I used. They saved my life, quote unquote. That was it. I figured he would explore and connect if he wanted to. 4 days later, my wife asked me, what kind of weird, misogynistic, train your wife like a horse websites did you send him? Ha ha ha. I laughed way hard at this. You can figure out what happened. Obviously, his wife said something to mine about the stuff. Him. What's on my heart? Number one, I feel for him. His recovery needs to be his own. Number two, I remember my, quote, bounce off the bottom of the deep end. Yeah, buddy. Bounce off the bottom of the deep end. It was so personal and deep. I feel a sense of pleasure in myself for working through the dark night of my soul. I'm extremely grateful for all the men here who share without reserve and allow me to be all things Mr. Nice Guy with understanding, maybe not to be all Mr. Nice Guy, with understanding, guidance, and advice. Number three, I love the cherry on top and the ninja level skills. Fuck yeah, buddy. Cherry on top and ninja level skills. That's what you're here to learn. You're here to learn ninja level skills. I love baseline work, right? I do that stuff every single day. We talk about that. And you are here for the advanced work, for the fucking ninja level. You want to have level 3 relationship, as David Data would say. And as we teach, you want to be able to bloom love and sacred connection between you and a woman, or you and women, or femininity in the world, right? A capital W or capital F. A femininity in the world. You want to feel it all and connect and be that container that she feels safe and attracted to pour her love into, for her to pour her femininity into. So he doesn't ask a question here, but I love this. First of all, I wanted to share and honor him for honoring us. Thank you very much. And I want to point this out, that very often, and I'm sure you guys, either you've heard this or you will hear this, which is, what is this misogynistic shit that you're digging into? Especially a woman, a wife who really doesn't like you right now. Maybe she decided a year ago that she was done with the relationship. So for the past year or two, there's that ticking time bomb that's been counting down, or the shit hit the fan 2 years ago and you didn't even know it. Speaking to myself and my past relationship, right? That's how I found this work too. Very often she's made a decision way before you are aware as a man that she's not happy in the relationship. Okay. So I'm going to bounce off of Cynthia, you here in a second. So she's created a different persona for her own self, a different identity. She's been grieving and growing a different identity of who she feels that she is, or she wants to be, or wants to move into. And so when you start doing new work, that's change, and it either scares her, or she just reads 2 sentences of one of our articles, or, Steve Horseman, or all of us, right? Piotrowski and Malloy and Jason as well. It reads 2 sentences and it's out of context, or she sees a metaphor like women are like horses, right? It's like, what is this misogynistic shit? Where are you learning this crap? I hate this stuff. What are you doing? Okay. And she, your woman, your wife who's pissed at you, may not have your best interest in mind, first of all, in that moment, which is really hard to consider as a man in a relationship. And number 2, yeah, Matt, no more Mr. Nice Guy, buddy. And number 2, she may have no idea the context or the direction that this work is going. Okay. She might read something out of context, become defensive. She might be projecting a lot of shit onto you, right? This is really complicated. So that's why we take the stuff to the men. And here's my question. What would you do if you were that man whose woman came and said, what is this quote, this weird misogynistic train your wife like you train a horse website that you're looking at? What is this? What is this? What would you do? Come on in, please.
Hey, Jeff, can I add a number 3 in there too?
Yeah, buddy.
Why the fuck are you showing this shit to your fucking wife anyway? Are you seeking some kind of validation to say, hey, look at this work I'm doing now? Look how great I'm going to be? Actions speak louder than words, guys. Do the work and let the action speak for itself. You don't have to say, look at what I'm doing. Live it. Show her what you're doing through the way you're living.
Yeah, phenomenal point, Rob. Absolutely. I 100% agree. So let's take the baseline of your wife like stumbled across this, let's say, right? Maybe she saw the books on your Kindle or whatever. She's like, what group are you going to? Where are you going in Colorado? Who the fuck are you getting together with? You're like, oh, here's the website, this kind of thing. What would you do? Yeah, thanks for raising your hand. Come on in, Pat. Patrick unmuted himself, and Matt. So you're going to have a fist fight from around the world. Who's going to go first?
I would just say it's a secret power and leave it at that and smile and walk away.
You're being avoidant. That's abusive.
Really? No, I'm being mysterious and intriguing, and you can come on the journey of knowledge with me, or you can stand aside while I progress.
It says right here you should treat your woman like you treat a horse. What the hell is that?
Well, my horse is well fed, well clothed, well stabled, and willing for me to ride her.
Go ahead and say what you said.
Work on, Jeff.
Beautiful. Cynthia said, and well ridden as well. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. That was beautiful. And then you smile, and then she slaps you and you smile more, right?
And I say, that's one I didn't have to pay for.
Oh, shit. So maybe we should stop Patrick while he's ahead. Let me go and press pause on Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. That was amazing. I don't know.
Don't put the cherry on top, Patrick.
Yeah. Maybe in New Zealand, women like that shit, but I don't know. Yeah, Matt, thanks for raising your hand. Coming in. Patrick, that was great, bud. Matt, come on in.
Well, to Patrick's comment, I would reply that you can take a horticulture, but you can't make her read it. Anyway, I held up that book because that's exactly what happened. I ordered that book and got the hard copy. I've got it on my Audible too. But so like the 4th time through, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a hard copy and highlight it. And my wife saw it laying out on the counter, and she had the negative response of, no more Mr. Nice Guy. You've got to learn how to be an asshole. I think you've got that down, right? But I told her, you're welcome to read it. Don't judge a book by its cover, by its title, and you're welcome to read anything that's in there. She had no interest in reading it. She wanted to jump on the title, but I just told her she's welcome to read it and proceeded on. and she's never asked again with anything else that I'm.
Yeah, Matt. So one key thing that I'm no pun intended, reading between the lines, is that you not trying to hide what's called hide the badness. You're not trying to, like a nice guy, you're not trying to hide the badness. Okay. Whether it's a habit that you like to do, but your wife doesn't like, so you try to hide it, right? Or you hide purchases, or you hide the cigarette that you sneak, or whatever it may be. You try to hide these things. What is that? So thank you, Matt. I'm gonna press pause for a second. What does that feel like for a woman in this spot, Cynthia? And I know I'll also ask you to jump in here as well, of what that woman is going through. So what does it feel like when a woman comes across this stuff, who is maybe a year decided she doesn't want to be in the relationship anymore, right? She comes across the stuff. It looks to her, she reads 3 sentences. This is misogynistic. And the opposite of what Matt said. What if the guy's trying to hide it? Like, he's trying to hide it. What is that like for a woman, please?
Yeah, I mean, Matt, what you pointed out was brilliant about it was the title that got her, and that's been, actually my personal experience is, there are some times I look at the title of videos or the title of books, and it can hit me. It either hurts my feelings. It can make me feel like it kind of pulls up some of my own, all of a sudden I might feel inadequate. So there can be, emotional experience from that, just like, there are books out there for women to grow themselves and their value. And I'm sure if you saw some of those titles or videos, it would be the video title, it would be like, what the fuck? What's the magic is like when you get past the title, and what Matt said is the information underneath is the gold. So if she's not willing to investigate more and she does have an emotional response, that's the moment of it's okay that she has some sort of trigger or emotion, and it's okay for you to stand your ground and not kowtow or change anything or hide what you're doing, because whatever the emotional response is, that's her feminine coming through. And the masculine, the most powerful gift of the masculine is to keep frame and container and space, while the feminine has some sort of emotional response. And he can be compassionate and witness if that's appropriate. And then he continues to move along in his frame and his path. And that's what fills her with trust, with understanding and resonance with him, which would be different if he, turned to her and was like, oh, why are you upset? And it became an argument and he needed to hide it, where that's going to breed more distrust. Like, she's already pulled that red flag. Like, what is he doing now? Is he going to find another woman? Is he suddenly going to start saying these things to me to try to make me feel less than? And that's when mistrust starts blowing way out of proportion.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest gift is authenticity and the open book page in front of someone, as opposed to the sneaking it into the backpack.
Yeah, 100%. And part of what, and I'm going to call on Jordan here in a second, part of what you do as a man and you learn through this work, and again, I'm speaking about myself here too, is how to be honest in a way that's calibrated. It's not, I'm pissed, it's your fault, and all this blame and emotional explosion. You're getting grounded and good within your own self. And you do that work with men. And then you take that grounded self and that honoring truth into the space with her. Right. So Jordan, come on in. Thanks for raising your hand. What do you have to say about this, please?
Well, so I guess initially I had a different set of thoughts. And now that I've listened to you a little more, I'm kind of having a different, whole other set of thoughts. My ex-wife was asking me this weekend, what are you doing at the end of the month in Idaho? Because I told her that I needed to schedule, so she needed to take care of kiddo, because I usually have him on the weekends. And I said, I got like an Airbnb sort of thing out there, and just left it at that. And so she comes back a couple minutes later and starts prying again. And I'm helping her move all their shit out of my house right now. And she's like, it's just guys, or what is it? Are there any women out there? And I was like, well, that was pretty fucking interesting for somebody who's already started dating somebody else. So I said, yeah, it's just it's a group of guys that I know from online, and we'll get together and hang out a little bit. And then now I'm starting to wonder if maybe I was being a little too cagey about it. I just didn't really want to get into the muck of all of it, and have the same sort of response where training me like a horse sort of thing, because I don't know that she's in the place to really understand what I recognize a lot of those titles are a little off-putting. So I don't know if I played that right, or maybe it's not even a play thing. I don't know if I handled that correctly or not.
Sure. Well, so Jordan, you and I are starting to work together, and I think this is a great question. You've inferred a great question here. I want to hammer on. Okay. So one thing that you did is you used the word just. It's just this. It's just, and it steals your own power, and it sounds like you're hiding something. It sounds like you're diminishing it. You're minimizing it. And you need not even say that. Right. And by the way, she's your ex, so you don't have to tell her anything if you don't want to. And also, man, that would be a fun moment. Well, we have, there's going to be a busload of girls that are coming in. They're the Budweiser girls. And so that's going to be 1 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock, we got Playboy Bunny applicants. I mean, Hugh called me from beyond the grave, and he said that he really wants me to vet out Miss Playboy, 2021 or whatever. They're going to have masks on and all that. But they took a picture of see, you could just keep going as long as you want to until she either laughs or says fuck you or whatever you want. Like, you do not have to answer a question logically. So start practicing in general, everyone. Something I like to do that I've been practicing for a long time is anytime you have an interaction with a woman and it's around some type of relationship, 99% of the time you aren't going to give a perfectly logical answer. She's not asking really for a logical answer anyway. Couple things. She's digging to see how much that you'll share with her, number one. Okay. Number two, she's trying to protect her own ego. Like, if you're not seeing any girls, it makes her feel more powerful within herself. So let's not even kind of give her that. You don't need to minimize this for her, protect her feelings or anything. She's your ex at this point. Hi, happily divorced man. You have the right to not give a fuck any longer. Right. So it's practice for the next relationship, next woman in your life of, well, I'm going out to see, first of all, yeah, you need not be cagey. I'm going to go out and cut down some tree. We're going to go shoot guns, cut down trees, drive a 4-wheeler. I think he's going to have some big tractor for us to plow over trees as well, because he's clearing some space, Oh, is that it? No, we're going to Playboy Bunny and the busload of girls, or you start with the busload of girls, whatever you want. There's no perfect way. The fail, though, is when we say just. I would recommend you strongly reconsider, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, ever saying that word when you're responding to a woman, because number one, you're explaining and defending yourself, which is generally a horrifically bad idea. And then you're trying to minimize, and a woman is always going to be on the lookout for manipulation. So why are you hiding something? Why are you minimizing this? So that would be my response, Jordan. How's that hit you, buddy?
Yeah, it's actually funny because I was talking with a friend after that whole interaction, and I made that whole hookers and blow sort of joke with him, but it never crossed my mind to make that with her. Yeah, and it might have actually been a joke that I would have made with her in years past about something like that, but not at this point. It never even occurred to me, and I don't know if I said just or not, but it's probably pretty likely looking back on it. So that's something I'll have to think about. I know we talked about that last week too, those sort of minimizing statements. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. So your own work too is to go into that. And why did I do that? What's my belief? Was I trying to minimize something? Was I trying to protect her feelings? Was I, just didn't want her to get mad at me, so I'm trying to cover myself? So to go into the little deeper work for you there is a good question. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. You're welcome. Let's jump to the next post from the forum. That was good. You guys are fantastic. This man says, Dated for 3 years. He said he was new to the forum. Dated for 3 years, married 12, 2 beautiful daughters. I'm self-conscious, insecure, and tend to get jealous quickly, which tends to make me controlling. My childhood was not great. My parents had an ugly divorce over infidelity on my mother's part, and they really manipulated my brother and I growing up to try to get at each other. My first 2 serious relationships ended with my girlfriends cheating on me. I believe I'm over the top on my jealous and insecurity due to my past and fear of divorce and the impact it will have on me, but also of my kids. So I try to control situations. But lately, I feel as though I'm pushing my wife away, and I know she feels it too. When I reflect and look back at my insecurities and jealousy, they're irrational. I truly want to be better. My wife admittedly is not an affectionate person, which probably doesn't help my insecurities, but she's working on that on her end. I read where Steve said, stop living in fear of divorce. Great advice, and exactly what I need to do, but where do I start? Thoughts. Well, you first go to our free program on our website, Solve the Fear of Divorce. I didn't actually read that entire thing. I like to keep it fresh for you guys. So, no, legit, we have a 10-day walk you through free program. It's called Solve the Number One Cause of Divorce, which is fear of divorce. So greatmenmovemountains.com/free program. Is that right? /free program. It's one of our free items on our website. So
Free audiobook.
So that's the other one. That's a staircase of staircase of intimacy. So yeah, go to our website and check that out. It's to solve the fear of divorce. So that's the first thing. But I want to bounce it up back to you guys here. Okay. So when I ask these, what would you do? It's what is he currently experiencing emotionally, right? So where is he emotionally, and what do you think that he wants? I mean, he said, how do I not fear divorce? Okay. But what do you think he wants? What's underneath that? It's talking about jealousy and his past, and right. So I'm going to shut up now, and you guys come on in. Unmute yourself. Come on in. What do you think he's experiencing emotionally, and what does he want right in this moment?
Validation, insecurity.
He's feeling insecure and he wants validation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, his situation, his upbringing is very similar to mine. And, I know that 3-4 months ago, his letter there sounds very familiar to where I was, and where I, still have to remind myself not to fall into that pit. But yeah, I think it's lacking a competence and needing a validation, be able to change your mindset. That I've talked about it before, the happily divorced man. But, you just said it, Jeff. The number one cause of divorce is fear of divorce, and you start the whole helicopter husband thing, and it's horrible. I can look back now and see where I wasted at least a year in that mode, if not 2 years in that mode, before I found this work. So yeah, there's not anything to do but to work on yourself and get past it.
Sure. Is there a key? So Matt, thanks for jumping in. Is there a key thing that is helping you or has helped you not have as much fear of divorce?
I think it's opening my eyes to the way the rest of the world sees me, rather than looking at myself through my perspective on what her opinion of me is.
Yeah.
Looking at myself through her eyes, and it's not an honest look, because it's my own insecurities at plays, and I'm thinking, she's thinking this, she's looking at me like this, she feels like this. I don't know that. So I started gathering perspective from other people that I'm encountering in my life, and it's like, well, I'm okay in the world. I'll get along. You know, I don't have to have that skewed perspective and that, you know, disapproval that I felt that, you know, that I was getting. A lot of it was generated within my own head. But, you know, interact, get out and talk to other people and spend time as a solo act on the world stage. And that helped me gain some confidence that, okay, this is not the only game in town, that this has to work or my life is over. Perspective that I had for at least a year.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Thanks for jumping. It's a one step at a time, right? And the first one for you was to stop seeing yourself always through her eyes, or even guessing how she's validating you or what she thinks about you. It's a whole paradigm shift for you, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, because the paradigm that I was seeing how she saw me is the paradigm that I got from these childhood experiences that he's talking about. In that not measuring up, not being enough, not being validated, you know, within my home upbringing and environment. So, you know, I had a window in my life when I was, for about 6 years, when I owned the fucking world. and then I fell back into this insecure preteen mindset, I think, of you know, wanting to make my wife happy, and the whole nice guy thing came out. But I had drilled into my head of you know, don't behave like your father, don't go to the Elks Lodge. That's what my dad spent all his life at the Elks Lodge. You know, you don't go there and you don't do that and you don't act like that. And so, you know, my mother telling me how to be turned into my wife telling me how to be, and I bought into it.
Yeah. So Matt, I'll jump in for a second and say, I recognize what you're saying. I'm completely passionate for it. Absolutely. And I think you'll agree with me that there are a lot of reasons of why we may have this poor behavior, this bad behavior, whether it's our upbringing, familial expectations, religious expectations, cultural expectations. You know, mom taught me to not be like your asshole father. So mom taught us to be, you know, the nice boy, which is not what is sexually attractive or healthy in a intimate adult relationship, right? So she's just like that. So there's a lot of that. And then, well, what do we do about it? So yeah, exactly. And Matt, what you're saying is have your own frame of mind, start building your own confidence. Now, as far as I'm going to press pause on you, Matt, I appreciate that. That's great. He's asking also about insecurity and jealousy and what do I do about it? So let me give you the, 20-second version of what I would do coaching this man, first of all, which is you go into the fear, you pull back the curtain, you jump down into the crevice that opened in the earth, you shine a light under the bed, and you try to look the boogeyman in the face and face the dragon as much as you can, because as long as you stay away, the boogeyman just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Your amygdala's job is to keep you in fear, to try to keep you alive. So it tries to keep you as afraid as possible, which has helped us throughout evolution, throughout time, to keep you alive. But that's no longer the way our world is anymore, right? We're not worried about the tiger jumping out of the bushes. So that amygdala from childhood and things, Matt, granted, but what do we do about it? You face the fear of what if the worst scenario happens? I mean, I'll be honest with you guys and open up, right? So my son has been to court. I've been with my son to court for marijuana violations 3 times in his teenage years. He's doing great right now. It's been a year, knock on wood, since we've been to court, but he had a hell of a hard time 13 through 16. And that's a story for another time. Maybe you've heard some of that story of mine. So I was worried about he's going to be a drug addict. He's going to go to jail. So what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, my son's horrible. Something happens to my son. He's a drug addict. He's a heroin addict. He, hurts himself. He hurts someone else. Right. I mean, that's, I think, one of our worst fears as a parent, or right, our relationship. It's all my fault. She cheats on me, like this guy. She cheats on me. It's my fault. I pushed her to that. I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world. And that's the spiral. Well, what if my son were to die before I do? That's a meditation that I do. Right? Okay. And we could talk about how to do that. G.S. Youngblood talks about provocative meditation in his book, The Masculine in Relationship. I think it's chapter 10. And provocative meditation is, you don't want to do it all day, every day. Certainly there's a way to do this. So if you want to do this kind of thing, reach out to me. I'm a professional in this field for over a decade. I can help you through that. Cynthia does guided meditations as well. So if you're going to get into some deep shit, I suggest that you have someone who can hold space with you and frame and positivity and point you in the right direction. Okay. Because I'm talking about advanced shit here. We're talking about ninja level stuff. I do a meditation on what if my son were to die? What if he were to be a heroin addict? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I watch those like after school specials, Hallmark after school specials, I cry about that kind of shit. I mean, that's intense stuff, right? So if you just try to deny and ignore and pretend it's not there, it's going to grow, that anxiety and insecurity and jealousy is going to grow stronger and stronger, because your brain is saying, look out, man, there's fear here and you're ignoring it. So the opposite, which there's a great new audiobook that Cynthia recommended to me. It's phenomenal. I'm almost done with it. It's called Existential Kink by PhD Carolyn Elliott. Existential Kink, super good. She talks exactly about this kind of a thing, integrating your shadow and loving why. So this man is jealous and insecure. And so he's getting something out of that. He's getting some kind of high in the moment. He may judge it as bad, but he's getting something out of feeling jealous and insecure, maybe because his woman overreacts and then makes him feel good and pats him on the head and tells him you're okay and treats him like his mommy for a moment. And that's the, childhood pattern, but that's not the way we want to go. We got to do this work for ourselves and with other men, because she's not wanting to fix us. She's not wanting to be our mommy. Cynthia, what would you add to that? Especially this, like, I keep getting cheated on. My wife is admittedly not an affectionate person. How do I stop living in fear? What would you add to that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you posting. I mean, that's an incredible thing that for anyone to be having in their mind. And it reminds me, you just mentioned Carolyn Elliott, and something that John Wineland actually does as a practice is he encourages men and women to get in touch with what is a core belief that you have about people in general or about women in general that it's starting to become a repetitious pattern in life. So every time it happens, it's like, oh, that's true. What if, when you were 8, the girl on the playground said that, she was going to trade a certain card with you and she didn't. And then from then on, there was this unconscious thing like, women can't be trusted. And so every time now something occurs where it's so painful and so raw and excruciating, it's almost proof, like in the back of the mind, like, yeah, like, see, that's what's true. And why dive into that? That feels like depressing and like rough, but sometimes uncovering that internal initial belief is a way to then have big, like, king energy perspective about what's happening in the now, because it takes on a whole nother frame of like, oh, here's a belief that's bringing up to me. I can change this now so that it doesn't keep repeating everywhere I look. It's not the goggles that I choose to wear. And thus I don't have to keep finding evidence. And then you can consciously work with the realness in the moment, but with faith and hope that this is not an always thing forever and ever.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the good things about where these pains bring you is it brings you to your baseline ground level beliefs about yourself and about life. And those unconscious, where you just assume that it's true, those ground level beliefs are what you need to sometimes, very often, change and shift. over to validating yourself, realizing that they're a human too, and all the skills that you learned here. So one of the doorways of this pain is true change to what's going to serve you and what's going to bloom love between you and the current woman you're with, or the next woman, and the world as well. Because otherwise, Matt, you said a minute ago, I think those 2 or 3 years were wasted. Well, that was the path that you needed to find this work that you're on right now. And I'm going to jump over to King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. We have to be aware, if we're not handling this well and the king energy, we're going to slip into what Carl Jung calls the shadow of the king. And there's 2 shadow poles, the weakling and the tyrant. I'm going to read a section of King, Warrior, Magician, Lover right now about the shadow. And we need to be aware of these things. This is like shining a light under the bed toward the boogeyman so we can be aware of what's there. And he says, this is from Moore and Gillette, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. The shadow king, the tyrant and the weakling. The tyrant king manifests in all of us at times or when we feel pushed to the limit, when we're exhausted, when we are getting inflated. So I'd say if you're tired or if you got any of those going on, you're hangry or you're flooded emotionally, your pulse is over 100 beats a minute, as John Gottman would say from the Gottman research, the 40 plus years of Gottman research. If your pulse is over 100 beats a minute, you're starting to get flooded. And that's when this gets into danger zone here, right? As far as you not acting in the way you want as a man, not acting in a way you're proud of. He goes on, we can also observe the tyrant king operating in certain ways of life, even in certain professions. The drug lord or pimp or mafia boss are all examples. They exist to further their own status and what they think is their own well-being at the expense of others. But we see the same self-interest in societally sanctioned positions as well. An interviewer should enter into a dialogue with about your experience. So this is what we're talking about at the beginning of our show today, of being interested in the other person. Okay, the other person's training, your hopes for yourself, and the company you're seeking to serve. But instead, the interviewer may spend the whole interview talking about himself and his achievements, his power, his salary, and the virtues of his company, and never asks you about yourself. So the tyrants can be completely self-possessed. The man possessed by the tyrant is very sensitive to criticism, and though putting on a threatening front, will at the slightest remark feel weak and deflated. So here's a key that you may be in the shadow of the king if very easily, and again, speaking about myself, my defensiveness, my entitlement from the past, if you feel really weak and deflated and threatened very quickly, that's a sign that you're flirting with the shadow, the tyrant king. So the man won't show you this, however. What you will see, unless you know what to look for, is rage. But under the rage is a sense of worthlessness, of vulnerability and weakness. For behind the tyrant lies the other pole of the king's shadow, the weakling. If he can't be identified with the king energy, he feels he is nothing. That's something I want you to consider, gentlemen, is if you start to flirt with that space of feeling flooded, okay, reach out to another man, text another guy, text yourself, do something instead of trying to talk your way through it. Because as soon as you're like, I need to force this, it's not going to go in a good direction. All right. And speaking of forcing, I'm going to force the segue. I'm looking at the time now. I always have way more that we can get to. And so I want to honor Cynthia Sexcapade spot here. Let's go and jump over to Cynthia Sexcapade spot right now. Here we go. Yeah, Cynthia Sexcapade spot today. Unleash your primal energy. Tone her vagal. Tone her vagal. Here we go. Cynthia, please take it away.
Well, this is all about the sounds that a woman makes during sex or when she's turned on. And sounding for her, making sounds, is actually not just a mindset of it's a result of things happening. Her making sounds is also a way for her to get in her body, to feel sensual with you, to feel received by you. And the behind the curtain part of this is anytime we're sounding or breathing deeply, we're actually toning the vagus nerve in our body. And that's the incredible power that we access with breath work or meditation. And for a woman, when she's toning, when she's making noises, she's toning that vagus nerve in her, it's increasing her ability and the quickness that she can relax with you. So her ability to feel your hand run against her arm, her parasympathetic nervous system can go more into receiving mode with you, her feminine mode with you, and be turned on, because a stressed out woman, it has a very hard time getting turned on. So increasing her vagal tone activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Having higher vagal tone means that her body can relax faster. And women who go into women's work actually have to practice making sounds of pleasure, because it's not always just a natural primal thing that comes out of her. It's in our culture, especially, something that, an initial exercise is she'll go to the grocery store and practice looking at something that smells and she imagines could taste so good, and practicing, under her breath, the sound. So you can invite her to be in this kind of practice with you by encouraging her when she does make a sound, whether it's the closed mouth sound, or the more open, like she can't control what she's feeling in her body sound, whether it's screaming or she's taking really deep breaths, or sometimes women in pleasure sexually laugh or giggle. It's noticing those sounds and letting her know how much you appreciate them, enjoy them. Even what they do for you can help her get over experiences of shyness or resistance and practice it more. And women can experiment with making sounds even before they're feeling turned on. And it could sound silly, but this is part of tantric yoga, like growling or purring or any sound that makes her feel sexy in her body. So you can experiment with her, allowing sound to be the part of the beginning of erotic experience rather than just an end result. And sounding is going to increase her feeling of pleasure with you. It's going to increase her ability to relax with you. And even in those subtle moments throughout the day, if there's a sigh she makes, the way she laughs, or even if she does the sound, just witnessing that, like, that's beautiful. Like, can't even imagine what that does to me when I hear you say that, or when I hear you create that noise, is going to encourage her more past shyness and into something that's incredibly good, not only for the two of you, but for her own being as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. So notice, like you were saying, notice these sounds and things that she's already doing. You're probably skimming over them, or you're busy in your own head and not being present and noticing the slight feminine things that she does. And you can say, I love it when you make a sound like that, or I love it when you skip across the room, or I love how you just tossed your hair. That feels like this to me. And you have to be in touch with the trueness, the reality, the honesty of what that does for you. Okay. You're not just saying it to manipulate her. What can I say that she'll like? Don't do that. Okay. If that happens, by the way, so here's a cherry on top, talked about cherry on top. If that happens, let that thought just slip out of your mind and see what else immediately comes after that. Okay. Like, well, if she'll like it, if I say I like her lipstick, just let that slip. And then, oh, I love how your earrings dangle across your neck. Might be, that just came to my mind right now. Okay. The next thing that comes in your mind after, I want to say something nice, she did something feminine right there. Let that mental thought just flood out of your mind, and what comes from your heart, what comes from your guts and your soul next is what you want to say, because that won't sound premeditated and manipulative. Okay, so there's your cherry on top for today. You guys are fantastic. I love that you're here. Matt, Jordan, Piotrowski, I love when you keep your cameras on. Bernard, Dave, Leandro, good to see you, buddy. Andy Malloy, appreciate you. Patrick, thanks, buddy. Randy just flashed his camera. Like, yeah, flash it. Thanks, Randy. Richard and John, same time, same channel tomorrow, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Get more affection, love, and sex in your marriage. Get less paralyzing fear and rejection. Never miss an episode. Watch anytime, anywhere, 3 a.m. on the toilet. Get full episodes. GreatMenMoveMountains.com/VIP. The C Note Show.